of what he believes in.
Right.
So don't vote for him.
Bottom line.
Because if Bernie Sanders decides to go independent, he's going to destroy the whole thing, and Trump's going to get in. Unless she brings Elizabeth Warren in, or one of those Latin twins, I think, from Texas.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to do that. I would be shocked if Bernie decides to go independent.
Because I heard him and Obama had a talk last night.
Yeah, we don't know what that conversation was about.
And maybe she needs to listen to what he's got to say. She don't really speak against him, though.
No, you know what?
She says almost the same thing. She
they're
just
really
don't
not that
say
far apart.
free college, and she don't say.
Right.
She said she wants to make everything affordable and make sure people make money to live. You know, if people would quit going into these, like somebody asked me about Walmart. I said, I've only been there once. I'm not supporting that store. I don't care how much money I can say. I'm not supporting that store. I refuse to.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's good and bad about it. As with any big operation like that, you go in there to get the best prices or the low prices, but you also sacrifice on quality because a lot of the stuff that they sell in there is, you know, not top quality.
Probably throwbacks, closeouts.
Yeah, could be. And most of it is from China and places like that, Taiwan, and, you know, that's how they can afford to sell it at lower prices. And that also hurts the local mom and pop shops because they can't buy on that volume level. And
well, they can if they go in and they try to get closeouts and go up against them.
Well, you know what? Would probably be not a bad idea for the independent or the mom and pops collaborate together and buy collectively, create their own distribution situation like that. So if you got several hundred mom and pop shops in a city, and then they worked out a deal that they would put their orders together and buy in volume like that, then they could get the prices down. I don't know if they've ever thought of that, but it's an idea.
There's actually a gentleman bringing stuff from India that you see in Pure Imports and all those places.
Right.
And he's every weekend he's on Washington. And I mean, I bought a basket from him for $20 where other stores want $150 for the same. And I asked him, and he said, I'm not bringing them to the big stores.
Right.
So he goes into wherever his stuff is and he brings stuff out and he's selling. And you're really getting a great deal because I'm waiting for him to come in with some more stuff because he's going to, he told me. So that's kind of nice that he's cutting that middleman out or whatever. They don't exist.
Right.
Whereas normally you couldn't buy those baskets unless you went to a more expensive store.
Sure. Well, that's a good thing, and you have to shop around. You know, especially if you're on a limited budget and you're not in a rush to buy something, shop around. You know, I buy stuff from time to time on Amazon.com. Usually better prices than what I can get locally. You know, I buy electronic stuff. You know, I'm a gadget guy. So, like right now, I'm shopping around for a USB hub that extends your. Most laptops or computers only have 1 or 2, maybe 3 USB outputs, and I need more. So I've been shopping around. When I go to Best Buy and Fry's and the local stores here in Los Angeles, the prices are okay, but I can find that same product, same brand and everything on Amazon and generally $10 or $15 cheaper and free shipping. So if you can afford to wait a few days, then why not?
And can't you do Groupon too? You can get a lot of stuff.
Yeah. That's
Living
true.
something, and then there's Numerac if you need bedding and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
You don't really need to go in those stores now.
Yeah, and that's why you see, you go into some of the malls and what have you, the stores, it's not very populated. At times you see more people, during holidays and what have you, but for the most part, go in these stores and it's not that active.
And you have those great pop-up stores where they'll be up for a weekend.
Yeah.
And you can go in. I mean, this one popped up on Sepulveda. I went in and got an amazing blow dryer for $5.
Yeah.
That blow dryer would have ran me probably a couple $100.
No kidding. $5.
$5.
Wow. I got to hang with you. You get all the deals.
Well, I look for them because when you're on a budget,
yeah,
You got to learn how to shop.
Even if you're not on a budget, why do you
Oh,
want to
even
pay
not
more?
on a budget.
Yeah.
I brought friends there, but some of them were like, "Oh, I don't know. It might not be that good." I go, "But it is," because they'd rather go pay $200.
Right. They feel better. Oh, I spent $200 for this, but you could have gotten it for $59.
Well, psychologically, that's how a
Why
lot
not?
of people think. It's like,
Right. If it's the same thing, why would you want to pay more?
it's
That's
like what we
silly.
were saying about Louis Vuitton purses when
Yeah.
people from China sneak them in.
Right.
Well, wherever they're being made, sure, they're going to sneak some in, and they are the same thing. They just
That's
don't
right.
have the serial number.
Yep. What's the difference? Who's going to know?
Well, they try to track them down now and shut them
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, they've been doing that for years. Years. I'm going to play a clip here. What time is it? Yeah, we got a little time. I'm going to play a clip here from. She's a commentator on CNN. She's Latino, and I'm trying to see her name here. But generally, she's pretty conservative. But she's speaking out against Donald Trump on this whole judge thing. So let's listen to her and see what she's saying here.
Offensive from a legal perspective, it is highly offensive as a Hispanic. What he is doing is wagging the dog. He is trying to distract from the fact that he has got a problem with a case where there are allegations that his business is a scam and a fraud. How dare he? How dare he question a judge's responsibility, a judge's adherence to the Constitution because he is of Mexican descent. This man was born in East Chicago. He is an American citizen. He is just as American as Donald Trump. Mexican Americans bleed just as any other American when they go to war. They bled just as any other American at 911. They fight for America. They are Americans, and what he is doing is disgusting. I'm livid about it, and if this is his strategy to win over Hispanics, he's got a hell of a wake-up call coming to him come November.
And I agree with her 100%. The things that he is saying against the Latino community and individuals makes no sense. I don't see how anyone who is one of my brown brothers or sisters would be supportive of a guy who's making these kind of statements, that because he's building a wall, if he wins, and he's going to build this fabulous, beautiful wall. It's going to be an outstanding wall. See, that's the kind of stuff he says. That why would anybody in the Latino community want to support somebody speaking that way? He says it's the same thing that I said to Tammy this morning. I don't feel like the Republican Party is speaking to me or have my best interests. I don't feel it.
And what did she say?
She's saying that's not true, that I should go to the Republican Party and blah, 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 blah. No, they need my vote. I don't need to court them. They need to court me.
How would she feel if she was the black person that day when he said that? Would she still feel the same?
Well, there's some black people or people of color, brown people, yellow people, don't see things the way we see it. And that's okay. That's their, that's their view. I'm not going to hate them because of that. I try to convince them that their view is skewed or confused. But again, they have to make their choices. And I think it has a lot to do with your background, your environment, what you're taught early on in your informative years. And that's what you continue to be. In most cases, people do change. I have many friends. Look, I grew up in a mixed political family. My dad was a Dwight D. Eisenhower supporter big time. My dad was in World War I. My mom, on the other hand, was a Democrat. She didn't think nothing about Eisenhower and all that. And I used to see them debate at dinner, at breakfast, at lunch. When the presidential thing, my real memories of political debate was when Kennedy was running in 63, 62, 63. And I remember them talking about the presidential race. And I thought it was quite interesting because they disagreed on a number of issues. And my mom was a poll worker. She would go to the polls. That's the same noise I heard earlier. Where's that coming from? I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah, it was like music or something coming on.
Yeah, it's coming out of my computer, but I have no idea where that's coming from. There's nothing open but my video software. That's
Well,
weird.
I hope you weren't in a porn site or something. Is it Zoom?
No, I don't go to those joints. No. The only thing I've been watching lately is news and old videos of Muhammad Ali. I was up to 3 o'clock in the morning the other day watching those videos, and it was amazing. Let me just check something. No, I don't go to those joints. Yep, no, the audio is there. That was a playback from our video that you just heard. I was just making sure that we were actually streaming audio and video on YouTube. That is also being viewed on Facebook. But anyway, I think that when Donald Trump does these crazy, off-the-wall statements, they can't be good for him. And just because he says, "Well, I've got Mexican supporters and they love what I'm," I don't believe that. You may have a handful. No doubt, but you're not going to have enough to win, Mr. Trump, because you can't offend the base and think that they're going to come along and support you. They're not going to do that. They're not. He has offended everybody. The only people that are loving him are the nutball, whack job, gun crazy people. And I don't have a problem with guns. I don't own guns. I don't want a gun. But if you want to have a gun, that's on you. It is your constitutional right. The Second Amendment says if you want to have a gun, you can have one. So that's my position. But I don't, think that you need to be fanatical about it and lie and tell people that certain candidates want to abolish the Second Amendment. That ain't going to happen. But see, they use these fear tactics. And this is another reason I don't like the Republicans, because they use fear tactics. They tell people that Hillary wants to abolish this Second Amendment. Well, tell me one time that Hillary has ever made that statement. She's never said that. She said there needs to be tougher rules and regulations, but nobody said anything about taking your guns. Barack Obama, they said the same thing about him. He never said, I want to come in your home and take your gun. Come on. But see, that's the fear tactics that they use. The lies. Smearing the truth. They don't play fair. And there are a lot of people that get hoodwinked and believing this to be true because Donald said it, or because Romney said it, or because McCain said it, or any other Republican. They create these lies, these fear tactics, and they repeat it over and over and over and over again till it becomes the truth in your mind. And that's dirty politics, and it shouldn't happen. They shouldn't do that. If you can't win on telling the truth, then shame on you. You shouldn't run. Run on strong policies, things that make sense, that's going to help the public, the American people. Tell them the truth. Stop lying to us.
Well, I'd like to see the day they make the law the same for everybody. I mean, a good example, this kid that graduated Stanford. Mm-hmm. He was caught raping this young girl. His father comes to court. This is what his father said. Why should he go to prison for a long time when he only did 20 minutes on her? Now, what gets me, the judge ended up, they wanted to give him 6 years, the prosecutors. Mm-hmm. The judge gave him 6 months. And you know what the reason was? He wouldn't do well in prison. No, he sure wouldn't, because he would find out what it's like to be raped. And people are trying to get this judge, they're taking up petitions to get rid of him. I mean, because
Well-
it doesn't make sense. Why
It doesn't.
are they not being treated? Why is this boy not going to prison? It's like the
Well,
same thing with the
I
guy
agree.
that killed Trayvon.
Yep. I agree with you.
So people that are other lawyers and judges, they want that judge to be removed. It's like somebody paid him off, and for the father to say something so nasty.
Yeah, that was disrespectful to the victim and her family, and to any other victim or any other female.
Well, she actually gave a speech, talked, and it was sad because she
Yeah.
really doesn't know what really happened.
Yeah, because she was intoxicated. He took advantage
Yeah.
of her, right?
He did,
Yeah.
and she's older. She wasn't even going to go to this party, but it's obvious he had to be a little older too because didn't he go to Stanford and graduate?
Yeah. Yeah, those kind of things are just you go. I mean, you can look at the Trayvon Martin thing. I mean, that a lot of people feel that was not just.
Phil, it wasn't just.
Yeah, and
What was
it
he
happens.
guilty of? He was black.
Walking
He went
while
to the
black.
store to get a. What did he go to the store to get? Some candy.
Some Skittles and
Yeah.
and a tea.
And this man gets off of this.
Yeah.
Same as this kid, but I don't know if they can retry that because
No.
I think once they give a sentence, but
Yep.
but those 6 months, I hope they put him in population because by the time he gets out, he'll be tore up if he makes it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the biggest no-nos, to go to prison if you touch a child or rape a woman.
Mm-hmm. We're in a sick society. There's no reason that.
Yeah, because
Anyone should
I
be
was
going through
reading
that.
comments and what people were saying, well, let him have been another race.
Mm.
There would be no even talking about him. They would have had him doing 6 years, and possibly
Yeah.
he's going to be out in 3 months, they said. The father feels
You
he
got
should
6
be in
months.
house arrest. What about
Wow.
the young girl that's got to think about this the rest of her life?
Exactly.
But it's been all over social media. People are
Yeah.
very, very angry about it.
Well, it should
very
be. They
angry.
have a right to be angry about it. It's wrong.
Yeah, because it's just like the kid in Santa Barbara because he was some big director or producer's son that killed kids in Santa Barbara and people.
Mm-hmm.
They sent him to a mental institution. About 2 years ago, they felt he could be in an open environment. But if he had been a black kid, and I've seen this happen to black kids, where they send them now, they go on to prison since they're mentally okay. So that's what I want to hear one of these candidates talk about. Let's make the laws the same for all people, no matter
Well-
what color you are.
Well, they are.
Even if you're a white person and you live in what they call a trailer park, they're not fair to them either. So
Yeah.
laws should be the same for everybody. No matter how much money you have, you should be punished the same way.
Well, the law is already in place for that. It's just the interpretation of the law, your representation, the judge's opinion if it's a bench trial, or the jury, if it's a jury trial and the jurors are giving certain instructions, and if they understand those instructions and then they give their determination based on the facts. I mean, that's the way the system works. And you would think that it would all be equal or should be. But it doesn't always come out that way. It depends on the information that's given during the trial and how it was presented. And I think in the Trayvon Martin trial, I think the prosecutor didn't do a good job. And that's why they lost the case. Some of the witnesses that they brought, they were not prepared well. But unfortunately, when you're having a prosecutor that handles thousands of cases, they don't have the time to do it in great detail the way if you had a private defense attorney. So unfortunately, our system is not perfect, but it's better than most in other countries. But we've got a way to go. We really need to work on that. And I'm sick and tired of people coming up with different things, especially during presidential elections, things that these are the kind of things that need to be talked about. But that's the Justice Department. The president really doesn't make rules and regulations about how that goes. It's not his department, if you will.
Yeah.
So But these are the kind of things that need to be talked about when judges are running. We need to vet them and ask tough questions. But, judges are either appointed or elected. The ones that are elected, most of the time when you go to the polls, you don't know anything about these guys. You're just kind of like guessing. And we need to stop doing that. We need to spend time in finding out who these candidates are and what they stand for, what they're talking about, and all of that. I've got a friend who is a radio guy, Joseph Haynes Davis, who's running. He's a lawyer right now. He's running to be a judge in Central Florida in the Orlando area. Now, I can tell you that I have admired this young man. I'm going to call him a young man because he's a few years younger than me, maybe more than a few. But he's a credible lawyer, has been for years, but he was a DJ at one time. And he was a great jock, worked in Philadelphia and some other markets. But he's been living down in Florida, and I can say that he is my turntable brother, a friend, and if I had to go before his bench, I know that I would be treated fairly, not because I know him, because he's a constitutional maniac. He believes in the law. And that's the kind of guy that needs to be a judge. He can separate friendship, relationships, and the law. Because I've had these debates with him. So I'm telling you what I know. And I could still call him JoJo because that was his radio name, JoJo Davis. Joseph Haynes Davis, who happens to be related to Miles Davis. It has nothing to do with anything except that that's his brother. But here's the thing. I know that JoJo would be a fair guy on the bench because that's who he is. That's who he is. He's going to go by the law. So if you go before him, he's going to say, young man, this is the law. And here's the guidelines in which I have to judge this particular case. And that's what it's going to be. He's not going to step outside of those guidelines. So if you're before a judge in the case, whatever it is, and the judge has the leadway of saying you can go to jail for 10 years or 5 years, that is the leadway. That's the law. So the judge can make a determination or decide where in those guidelines he can go. So it's incumbent upon the prosecutor and the defense attorney to plead your case one way or the other. And then based on those arguments, then he makes a determination. And sometimes they go to the fullest, the top of the law in that particular situation. Sometimes they don't. Now, in the case of this young girl that was raped while she was intoxicated and didn't know what was going on, so she obviously didn't give consent, so that's rape. And I think that's a heinous rape, and it's a punk, a chump, a jive turkey to do that. You're not a man. You're less than a man because you had to take advantage of a person while she was intoxicated. Because she probably would have said no. So if I was a judge, I would look at all the facts. I would listen to the recommendations of the defense attorney. I would listen to the victim's testimony. But I think I would err on the higher side of whatever the legal guidelines are for how many years you can get and probation and all that kind of stuff. Because I think you have to set an example. You have to let people know that this is wrong. It's breaking the law. It's a heinous crime. And I think if you just, make it a lightweight sentence, 6 months, I'm not sure that was a good call. So those type of things should be reviewed, and maybe it can be appealed. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure whether a case like that is appealable. But typically, an appeal is going to come down on something that was done during the trial that was inappropriate, And if there are any lawyers out there or judges that want to weigh in on that, 424-227-9461. If you're watching us on video, the phone number to call in is always on the screen. And our lines are always open. 424-227-9461. You're listening to the Lee Michaels Show with Carol. And Carol's doing her nails right now, I think.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
What are you doing?
I was just reading further about this young man.
Yeah.
How when they posted his picture, and this is the truth, normally they'll post the picture, the media, of when you were arrested.
Mm-hmm.
But with him, they put a yearbook picture.
Of course.
So somebody put up the picture when he was arrested. But, I think we all sometimes judge things. It's like something I read that Muhammad Ali said. He said, don't judge all Muslims by a few.
Right.
And it's the same thing for us minorities. Don't judge us all by what a few do. Like when I complained, I was in the mall and these kids, what they did in there the other day.
Mm-hmm.
What's sad is now people are going to go in there and when they see a group of black kids, they're going to think they're the same. Everybody's the same. And I see this a lot.
Yep.
I mean, I'm even guilty of it to get scared sometimes. If you're walking by and you see I see a group of, say, white kids, they got earrings and piercing hanging from all over. And they have that skinhead look.
Yep.
I get leery, but that doesn't mean they're a skinhead or a hoodlum.
Right.
It just means maybe this kid likes shaving his hair off. It's like a good example, too, how people judge people.
Yeah.
I like wearing my hair real short sometimes.
Do you?
And first thing people think is, she's gay. I get hit on by women, and it's because my hair is short.
It's stereotyping. I mean,
yeah, so that's why I grew it out this time, and I go, but I don't like it long. I like shaving my head short. And
can we show the people what you're talking about?
I'd have to find it.
No, I mean, put the camera on you now so they can see what your hair looks like.
I really rather you didn't. I think having a camera on me doesn't mean anything. I mean,
it's just you can.
No, my hair isn't down. What I'm trying to say is, we judge people too easy, and I'm guilty of it, just like everybody else.
So let me ask you a question: if you're walking down the street or you're at a mall or something, you see a couple of kids. I'm gonna give you a couple of different scenarios, and I want the audience to participate in this. You're in a mall, and you see two white kids, a girl and a guy. And they may have shorts on and maybe, what do you call it, the T-shirts that show a lot of skin, wife beaters or whatever. And they have tattoos. What is your mental picture, or how do you respond to that? What do you see?
I wouldn't respond at all. I like tattoos myself.
Do you have tattoos?
No, my mother would never allow that. I would like one before I die. But if she's wearing real short shorts, I would be the typical mom and say, why would their mother let her dress? But then I start thinking, well, remember, Carol, you used to wear things that your mom, like your dress would be below your knees, but you get out of the house, you're rolling it up.
Right.
So I wouldn't think much of it.
Now, what about two black kids that are dressed similar with maybe tattoos and maybe the guy's pants is on the ground and, he's looking kind of, hoodish? Would you be fearful?
No, because that's what kids do now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time for them to pull the pants up. Kids have been known to be walking and they fall down to their ankle. I've seen that happen.
You know what's funny to me?
I never had that problem with my son.
It's funny when I see guys, and black and white guys do this.
Yes.
So it's not a black thing or a white thing.
Even girls do it.
Yeah, and I don't get that, man. I really don't. But, it's funny when I see cats running from the cops.
They got to hold their pants.
I mean, you dumbass.
You're not going to get away because the cops know you're going to trip. You need to run out of the pants.
That is insane. And especially here in California, you see these car chases and they jump out of the car and they're holding the pants. And I'm going, why are you even trying to run? Why?
Yeah,
What
because
is the
9 times
point?
out of 10, they're going to swear you were reaching in your pocket for a gun. You weren't.
Exactly. That's your ass then. You ain't going to make it.
But I've seen grown women do that with the hip huggers the kids wear.
Yeah, yeah.
But what looks bad is when you do that. And I don't have a problem with people not having butts, but when you don't really, you have to dress to your shape, what
Yeah.
your body's like. And
Yeah.
there are people that it isn't cute when they're
No, it isn't.
wearing, because I know a grown woman that does that, and it looks terrible because she has no butt, not even just a crack. It'd be a little different if there's a little puff or something back
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as a real heavy set girl wearing leotards that are flesh colored, and all you see is a bunch of cellulite and stuff. And I don't have a problem with people having cellulite, but dress accordingly, because most women are going to get some, because even if you're skinny, because women have thinner skin than men. So even men have cellulite, but you don't see it 9 times out of 10 because their skin is thicker.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
What
That's my
is
buddy.
that?
That's a crab. That is a Chesapeake Bay crab right there. Tim Watts, who's in Baltimore, radio guy. For all those who don't know that name, you should. He's a great radio guy, and somehow he is, I'm going to say, semi-retired. You got to get back in the game, dog. But he's standing here holding the biggest crab I've seen probably in 30 years. That thing is huge. I used to catch these almost every day as a kid. I used to go out in my little rowboat, and I had 6 crab traps, and cages. You go out and drop them in the morning, typically, and you wait for a tide change. You put some old chicken necks and chicken backs, because they eat whatever, or some fish. You put that in the center of the trap, and the crabs go in. Crabs are not too smart. They'll go in through the hole, but typically will not come back out. I don't know what that is. I've tried to have conversations with crabs, and they don't give me an answer that makes sense. But they go in the trap, and when you go back and you pull up the trap, and there they are. You might have 30, 40 crabs in that one trap. But that is one huge crab. Tim, are you in the crabbing business now? Wow. Look at that thing. But when I've caught big crabs like that before, and many times you see these big claws on them, and the claw meat is not that much in there. It's anemic, small. Wow. I have to call Tim up and say, man, what's up with that big-ass crab? Give me some. Send me some out here on the West Coast. We don't have those out here. That type of crab does not exist on the Pacific, in the Pacific Ocean, because it's a warm water crab, and the Pacific Ocean is too cold for him. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, this is more lobster zone, and the Dungeness crab, which is a West Coast crab. Dungeness is usually a big crab like that, but it's a different breed. But it's all in the crab family. I'm trying to see if I got Tim's number here, because I need to know what that is. Where'd you get that big boy? Tim Watts. Yeah, I got a number on it. Let's call Tim, because I want to know. I'm a crab man. Love me some crab. Let's get Tim on the phone here. I hope this number is good. I haven't talked to him in a while, but let's see here. Okay. This might be his old office number. You're listening to the Lee Michaels Show. I'm calling my radio buddy, Tim Watts. Tim Watts, please. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. It's been. I didn't know if this number was still good or not. Yeah, this is the radio station, right? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. That was his old office number. They say he doesn't work here anymore. He hasn't been here for almost a year. Yeah, I know. Okay. Damn, Tim. Thought I had his cell number, but I guess I don't. All right. Well, now I'm real jealous, Tim. So you got to hook your boy up with one of those big boys like that. I need about 24 of those. Hi there. They're doing a tour, having people come around. Welcome to the Lee Michaels Show with Carol and company. Huh? I don't know where he was. But, yeah, we're live and direct here from Los Angeles on Election Day. Big day in the primary election in California and New Jersey. Who will come out on top today? Wouldn't it be fun and exciting and controversial if Bernie wins both states, or if he wins California alone? That still would be something to talk about tomorrow. Give me.
He might. A lot of Hillary people aren't going to vote because they said she already won.
You think so?
Yeah, I talked to people that said that.
Really?
But it's funny, if you look on the primaries, she has already won. Go look at the numbers.
Yeah, according to the delegate count,
She's won already.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, they can change their mind.
Well, in July,
They're not
they
obligated to stay with what they're saying today. So I think that's what Bernie's hoping and praying for.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either.
Bernie's nice in that, but my biggest thing is, why aren't you controlling your supporters? If you can't control them and they're out there doing what's happening right now, how are you going to control this country?
How do you know those are his supporters? Maybe they're Trump supporters.
Oh, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
I look
Maybe
at it.
Trump is
I go
planning
in
some
every day.
bad-
Oh, I think he's throwing them in there.
Yeah. It's a possibility.
You always get a few bad apples in.
See,
And it's going to cause problems. Like you were going to ask me questions about looking at different people.
Mm-hmm.
How would I react? I would react if I seen a group of kids walking and in a mall and they're loud and their pants are all below their butts and they have tattoos across their faces and neck. I would look at them a little different then.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's always possibly where that tattoo is. Because certain people, like people coming out of prison, they'll have tattoos in certain places, maybe a teardrop on their face. Yeah, but I try not to judge people, but like I said, we're all guilty of that.
Yeah. And that's,
I mean, when you see 200 kids running in a stampede,
Yeah.
well, what's your first thought when it's going to be one race?
yeah.
Which you got to realize, that's only 200 kids. That isn't the population. And that's
Right.
kind of what Muhammad Ali was trying to tell people. Don't judge us all by a few. And I've said that many times because I went to the Middle East, and believe me, they're just as frightened as we are, just like I'm frightened out here. There's certain areas I'm not going to walk down.
No,
I'm not
and
going to put myself in Watts and walk down the street, or I'm not going to walk in the jungle that's off of, I think it's Martin Luther King Drive. You're
Right.
not going to walk in there if you don't live in there. You definitely are not going. So it's. I think we all have fears, just like they do in their country. Because when people think they run around with guns, I never seen anybody running around with a gun.
Now, when you were in the Middle East, and you've been there several times, right?
A lot.
A lot. How were you received as an American woman?
Well, most people took me to be Arab. I actually went out and bought these long dresses, and I respected the country. I didn't walk around showing my arms, and
Did
I
you wear
don't
the
show my boobs
headdress and
anyway.
all that?
I didn't wear a headdress.
No.
But a lot of people, because a lot of the different countries, I don't know if they're still a democracy because I see things changing, thought I was Arab because I'm very pale. And that's where people are confused. And I noticed, I'm trying to think who made that comment. You'd think, like when Malcolm X went over there, he thought he was only going to see black Muslims. So when he went over there, he realized it's probably more white Muslims over there. 'Cause
Interesting.
most Middle Easterns are more white looking.
Right.
So I think when he came back here, that's why they assassinated him, because they didn't want people to know this. They wanted people to be fooled. And I felt the same way when I went over there. It was totally different than what I thought. I
Yeah.
didn't see a lot of black Muslims.
Interesting.
I seen more very good-looking men, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very good and very generous, very just totally nice people. I mean,
And see, and that's funny. It's not funny, but it's interesting that you're pointing this out, because when you hear Muslims that express the peace and the love about the faith and the people, but then you see this other fraction that's not that way, ISIS and all that. So it's a confused message, and I don't think enough peaceful Muslims are vocal enough. Why do you think that is? You don't hear
well,
them
I think
speaking out.
a lot of it is, especially in the Middle East where they're having many problems. You can't just talk freely. You can't talk to the press. Like
What
when
about the
I was over
American
there, I
Muslims?
would come back and I'd say, "Wow, they have no crime whatsoever." And people would that were from the Middle East, they say, "Carol, we do have crime.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the press is not free to say what they want."
Right.
In most countries, it is like that. You're not going to.
Yes, government controlled.
Yeah, it's like Egypt when you started seeing all the things happening there. This isn't new.
Mm-hmm.
I have a new client, and I think she told me her uncle. I'm trying to think where he was, but they killed him for being a Christian.
Yeah.
So and a lot of people from Egypt don't even want to go back there now. It's gotten so violent.
Well, why do you think that American Muslims that can speak freely, because we have the freedom of speech,
Well, I think
they
it's a
don't
lot
come
of
out?
it's because you had Malcolm X and you have Farrakhan who tries to create it that there's only black Muslims. You don't see white Muslims standing on the corner on Crenshaw with bean pies. Have you seen that?
No.
I haven't either, but there are lots of white Muslims.
Right.
And it's kind of a joke because he tries to create it like it's just black Muslim, and that's not true.
Right. Well,
Muslim is a religion. It's
Exactly.
not a race. And
right.
like I said, when they aren't violent, they're just as scared to come to our country, and I see this all over the world. People are afraid to come here because we have more killings probably than they do in their streets.
Yeah.
We have gangs, and they're afraid to come here. And if you watch what's happening, and it's not the gangs that have done this, it's our mentally ill people that are on the streets because we don't have mental institutions. Up in Hollywood, we've had numerous stabbings. And unfortunately, it's always a tourist they're stabbing.
Right.
So what happens? It hurts our tourism because
Yeah.
people are afraid.
I just often wondered why the peaceful Muslims from around the world that do not agree with Al Qaeda, ISIS.
Well, do you agree with gangs?
No.
Well, it's the same thing.
Well, I speak out against gangs, though.
But they're the kind of people that gangs and terrorists are the same. They don't conform to society. And it's a little different in the Middle East. It's not as easy to speak out. I mean, look what they've done.
But I'm saying the American Muslims. I mean, why don't they speak out? Why aren't they more vocal
Well,
about, trying to at least separate themselves from the terrorists
because sometimes they're
and
taught
condone it?
they're taught the same thing. Years ago, because of the way I look, I couldn't go in a Muslim restaurant because they said everybody was white devils, and not that I'm white.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened for many years.
Right.
I mean, it happened to me recently when a lot of stuff was going down. I wanted to buy a bean pie. He wouldn't walk up to my car to sell me one, and I had to laugh because I'm just as much a minority as he is.
Right.
But he didn't see that. He only seen somebody because my hair was blowed out straight, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very pale. So somebody's teaching them this,
Right.
and it's not the Muslims that are coming here from the Middle East. It's the American ones because, like I've told you, when I was on the road with Michael, it wasn't the Muslims from the Middle East I feared. It was the Muslims from here that I had problems with. They
Right.
were very, very violent.
So he had hired the Muslims from America
Well,
to travel with him?
basically, because his pill thing had taken over,
Mm-hmm.
they convinced him to slowly get rid of everybody. When it was down to it, it was me and maybe this guy that was a cop before, the nanny.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else, and the people in his main office were not Muslim, but the ones that were running everything,
But
they were
handled
Muslims, American Muslims.
They handled mostly his security detail, though, right? Or was it?
They didn't handle it the way you're supposed to handle it. When you go on the road with an artist, you're not supposed to push the fans around or not be willing to go out and take the gifts they have for that artist, because you're supposed to go out there and get the gifts. And if they have pictures they want signed, you're supposed to go and try to have maybe the artist sign them. But they don't do that. They were very, very violent. And anybody at that time, I've had people reach out to me that were all at the last concert he did that hung around the hotel, and it was pouring down rain. They wouldn't take their stuff. They were very rude to these fans. I got in trouble for going out and getting stuff from them that they wanted to be given to the artists. So, and these were not Muslims they were Muslims from here.
Yeah.
And actually, one of them right now, she thinks when it comes to Michael Jackson, she's trying to sue his inheritance, his estate.
Why?
Because she says he owes her money. No, he doesn't owe her money, because the minute I see that go to court, I'm going to be one of the biggest witnesses. I've seen her steal. I've seen her do many things. If there's a check that she signed. So, you see a lot, and that's what's kind of sad, because not all American Muslims were like this group of people.
Right.
Not, you know what I'm saying?
How did they get involved in his life like that?
Through Jermaine. Jermaine,
Is Jermaine Muslim?
Jermaine, sorry, I shouldn't even talk about this. Jermaine, I don't know if he was Muslim, but he followed the Muslims in the Middle East. That's how Michael met the prince of Bahrain. He was very well connected with them.
Yeah.
I don't know how connected he is now. I know he's married to a Muslim woman now.
Do you know if the other Jacksons, the brothers, are they okay financially, independently, separate and apart from Michael's wealth?
Well, I think a long time ago, artists didn't make the money they make now.
Right, of course.
And when Michael left the Jacksons, that kind of tore the whole thing up. Because if you think about it, Michael was basically the lead singer.
Yeah, he was.
So you lose the lead singer. It's like any group. If your lead singer walks away, and that's the one all the girls follow.
There was no more Jackson 5.
No,
Jackson
they're
4.
doing pretty good right now, though. I mean, Tito has I heard a very good song out. I mean, Tito literally was still performing by himself, but he took other jobs to support himself. And I think Marlon did. I think the only person that really bothered was Jermaine, but Jermaine kind of walked away from all of them when they didn't want Motown managing them, and because he was married to, was it Barry Gordy's daughter?
Yep.
So Michael walked away from that. So I think it kind of hurt all of them, especially when Michael left.
Sad, because they were such a great group.
Well, it wasn't sad because maybe Michael didn't want his dad managing him.
Well, I'm sure there were
I think that was
a lot
a big
of underlying
part of it.
reasons.
Yeah.
But it was sad for us as fans, and supporters of the group. I mean, I remember when
because they were
first came out.
excellent.
Yeah.
They were amazing.
Yeah.
Because what was the Osmond brothers were out at the same time, that family, but the Jacksons were actually way better than them.
Totally. I mean, they were both good.
Yes.
And they were good but different at the same time.
The Jacksons were loved by all races.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny because one person could mess a group up.
That's true.
Who was Lionel Richie with before?
The Commodores.
Okay, didn't he kind of mess them up when he walked away?
Yeah, the Commodores, I think, only had maybe one or two good songs after he left.
Now, One Direction, I don't think he'll destroy it because he's not the one all the girls like. They like the hairy guy, the One Direction.
Oh, I don't know.
Remember, one of them left,
Yeah.
and right now they're all on kind of hiatus, doing maybe they're single, but they'll come out again. And, I don't think that's going to hurt them. But now NSYNC's another good example. Justin Timberlake went solo.
Right.
What happened to NSYNC?
We're still looking for them.
So
They're MIA.
you can see what happens.
They're out of sync.
You see what happens because even with Michael, his problem began when he got into it with was it Tommy Lasorda? Tommy something, and he kind of blackballed Michael.
Yeah.
He literally tried to destroy Michael's whole career, which I think he did a good job at the time.
Yeah.
He really did. But one thing he couldn't destroy, which record companies didn't control, was TER
Yeah.
support,
Yeah.
which I say the word probably different than most people.
We know what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's
when
all
Michael went out on the road, he could sell out in minutes, and you'll never see an audience like his anywhere.
good. Yeah.
Most artists now, they pay people to sit all through the audience and scream and pretend they're fainting, but he didn't have to do that.
No.
I mean, I've been to
Yeah.
concerts where I was in the VIP area because he wanted me to lead the people from Disney out in that. And believe me, that was frightening because you're sitting in the middle of that crowd and there's 100,000 people on the
All around
floor.
you, yeah.
On the floor, not on
Yeah.
the up and.
Right.
And it becomes a thing when he steps out. They
Yeah, they lose
start
their minds.
stampeding and they're crushing each other.
Yeah.
And all you can think of is, how am I going to get out of here?
I've been there. I
It's
know.
the most frightening thing you can imagine because then some of your people will jump up on top of the VIP and they start peeing down. You
That's
see so
nasty.
many, and then you watch Michael, which he got more excited. The more the crowd got wild,
Yeah.
it would excite him more, which he didn't see what was going on. And
Right.
if he did,
Yeah,
he
he's
ignored it. 'Cause,
backstage.
I mean, it was frightening to try to get your VIPs out of there.
Yeah.
I would watch these people, especially in Paris. They would hit the audiences with billy clubs to part that
Really?
crowd. Yes. And I'd be like, why do you got to hit them? But that was the only way they could probably part them
Wow. I was in
because
St.
they were
Louis.
still watching the show. So,
I was in St. Louis in the 70s. It must have been 73, 74, something like that. And the Jackson 5 were on tour. They came to the Kiel Auditorium. And I was the MC of that show. And for some reason, I can't remember why, but the show was a little late starting. I think the Jacksons were late getting there a few minutes. So I had to go out in front of the crowd. Carol, let me tell you something. I never want to have to do that again.
did they throw stuff at you?
Man, I go out there and like I'm like one of the top DJs in the town, right? So they tell me to go out and calm the crowd down and let them know that the show's going to start in a few minutes, and just go out there and cool them out because they're like stomping their feet and we want the Jackson 5. We want. So I go out there and I say, oh, slow down. Let me tell you. I said the Jackson 5 will be out in just a few minutes. They're just getting a few things together, and this is going to be an amazing show. So just calm down. So somebody says something to me in the crowd, and I couldn't hear him, and I went a little closer to the edge of the stage. Some jackrabbit grabbed me by the ankle and pulled me down into the crowd.
Oh, wow.
Now I had some boots on. They were kind of halfway up, almost to my knee.
And they didn't have security guards guarding that stage?
They did, but
They got past them.
yeah, exactly, because they were right up at the stage. After that, years after that, then they started putting a barricade in front of the stage, but they had the crowd was right up there to the stage. So I went up there to see what this guy was saying, and I don't know if it was a guy or some girls grabbed me by the ankles and pulled me down into the crowd, and then magically threw me back up on the stage, right?
You're lucky they didn't steal your watch and stuff.
They took one of my shoes off.
Yeah, because they'll do that. They'll take your watch, your shoes, your pants.
Oh man! So I'm up on the stage with one boot on. I'm saying, but where's my boot? Give me my damn boot back, right? So I'm trying to get my boot. They did throw the boot back up on the stage, so I got the boot back. So that was one of my Jackson 5 stories, and then they finally got there, and I went back out. I said, "Okay, are y'all ready?" I said, yeah. So I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, St. Louis, welcome the Jackson 5," and they come out and do their thing of it. So it was so much fun, and to be able to do that. And I got pictures of me with them backstage, and somewhere in storage somewhere I have those, and
Well, that's like if you're
I
in
gotta
Paris.
find those. Yeah,
They strike all the time.
yeah,
So I remember once Michael was doing a show there, and I had that was the same day I think I had all the VIPs or another time, and all of a sudden the bus stops and he gets off.
Michael gets off.
No, the bus driver does. Michael's there already.
Oh,
He gets off because they went on strike. So I got to try to get them all through this field. Now,
Wow.
in these countries, they'll have German Shepherd dogs that are ready to attack when you're trying to come through the field to
Right.
get to the artists.
Wow.
And I'm trying to tell these guys, hide your VIP badges, put them away. They just won't listen. I go, you're going to get a stampede, you're going to get us killed. But we did manage to get through, but
Why would you have to hide the VIP?
because of these fans. They see that stuff, they want that.
Oh, okay.
Fans
Collections.
are crazy. I mean, look how crazy they were with Elvis Presley,
Mm-hmm.
the Beatles. I don't think you see that as much now. Maybe with Justin Bieber, he gets some wild crowd from what
Yeah.
I hear. But the rest of them, I mean, it used to be terrible.
Interesting.
Especially if you get in the van and you're in the van with the artists.
Right.
This kid's almost tipped those vans.
I've seen them do that.
So I don't want to be in that van.
Yeah.
I'll come later.
Yeah, I agree with you, and
It's
I'm
frightening.
over that whole, going to the concert thing, and
I
and
used
all
to
that.
like it, though. I think
did too.
it blew my adrenaline up
Yeah.
because I've worked with a lot of great artists. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I went with the Backstreet, it was the same thing because I was working with the opening act. and
Yeah,
They loved them, too.
I've had all kind of great concert tickets, and many times I didn't go. I had front row seat tickets to see Elvis. I didn't go because the girl I was dating at the time wasn't interested in him. So we went to dinner and did something else. And then another time I had front row seat tickets to see Frank Sinatra, and I didn't go. Diana Ross, I've seen her several times, but one particular time I had seats and I didn't go to see her. There's several others.
So I was
Major
always
acts.
backstage.
It was pretty much backstage too.
Yeah, I like that a lot
get
better.
that kind of access, but even backstage gets kind of crazy sometimes. You get
Not
to-
when you're with somebody like Michael Jackson because
Well-
they're not going to let them all in.
Well, that's true.
Not even in the green room.
Yeah. No, you're not going to get in there.
No.
No.
But backstage is sometimes good, especially if they have a place up front where the backstage people can step out and really see.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to see the show. I don't want to just be a Klingon hanging out
Yeah,
backstage.
but after you've been on the road and you've seen it, it's,
Yeah.
you know, you don't.
Yeah, you
it's
were
no
working.
big deal.
Right, you were working, so you were from a different perspective altogether.
Yeah, I miss that excitement a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was offered a job recently, maybe about 3 months ago, and I signed a confidential agreement, but I didn't really want to go on the road for a year or so, so I ended up turning it down. I thought it was going to be more here and in the States where I could come in and out, but it wasn't, so I thought, no.
World tour, huh?
I'm too old for those world tours.
Been there, done that.
Well,
I
people think
understand.
it's this great, exciting life, and it's really
It can
not.
be hectic, yeah. Going in and out of different countries and passports and, standing in lines and all of that. Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, and when
it's
you're on
kinda-
an airplane all the time, you start getting sick.
Now, when you were running around with Michael and some of the other artists that you work with, I mean, you wouldn't have to go through the same kind of customs and what have you, did you? Or did you?
I didn't. If I was in the A group, no, I sure in the hell didn't. When I went to the Middle East, I went through, they didn't even look at my bags. I went straight through a VIP thing where they just bring me right through.
Right, because you're on a chartered plane, right?
No, it was sometimes a regular plane, but they were there for me, waiting for me, and they
Right.
would bring me straight through.
Okay,
So I couldn't
That
even
makes it a
tell
little
people
easier.
sometimes what the airports look like.
right.
Because I came through a different way. Because I remember one time in the Middle East, which is unheard of, we were going to Amman, and I was on the plane with all these male rulers, which is, like I said, unheard of. And we went into this one VIP area, and I remember we sat down kind of like on a floor.
Mhm.
But what was funny to me was everybody that served was basically crawling and I started laughing. I said to the prince from Bahrain, I said, why are they all bent over like that? Why aren't they just, he said, they can't be above us. I thought, well, that's effed up. And he looked at me. That might be why they like me, because I was
You're
just
speaking your
Carol.
mind.
But it was kind of sad to me because could you imagine having to serve and you have to basically, you're almost crawling.
Wow.
So, when people say they hate America, go live in some of these other countries and you'll think twice about it.
Yeah.
You will never have the freedom you have here.
You know,
And when
and I agree
people
with
try
you.
to stop Mexicans or people from coming here, they're all immigrants except for Native Americans. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they need to stop. They want this. People that are coming here want the same freedom that
That we
have,
enjoy.
and
Sure.
and because everybody here is an immigrant, you have no right trying to take this from them. I'm sorry.
Yep. Well, this country is made up of immigrants. And if it wasn't for the immigrants, we wouldn't be who we are today. And, you know, I think the big thing is people who come here, I agree they should come the right way, go through the process to become citizens.
Well, originally they didn't come the right way.
Well, that's true. But, you know, if you're going to be an American today, that's the process.
Yeah, but he wants
No.
to take people that kids that were born here, and because their parents weren't, he's talked about sending them back over the border. Now these kids were born
Are
here.
you talking about Trump?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why would they be any different? And why would you take their parent from them? So that
Yeah,
stings when I hear people.
There's no justification.
talk
I
like
can't
that, I go-
rationalize it.
I go, who are you to talk like that? Trace your ancestors back. None of yous belong here.
Yep.
And now you're still trying to take the land from the Native Americans, you know?
Yep.
So why are you going to sit here and discriminate because somebody's trying to become a citizen here?
I'm seeing here some breaking news in New York City, West 33rd Street, as they would say in New York, next to Madison Square Garden, has been renamed to Muhammad Ali Way.
Well, that's nice.
Great. Yep. A little
You
positive.
made me
thing.
nervous for a minute. My son's on his way there.
Yeah, no, that's some positive news. That's a good thing. 33rd and 3rd. You ever hear a New Yorker talk like that?
Well, my family on my mother's side are from there,
yeah,
so I hear it all the time.
yeah.
My mother was from Brooklyn. Is it Brooklyn or the Bronx?
Yeah, I like New York. I like to visit there. I've lived there twice, and you know, maybe now, 'cause I don't have any kids to deal with, but maybe it might be different now. But growing up, you know, trying to raise kids in New York City, I found it kind of tough.
Well, I think in 10 years, unless you're rich, you won't be living in New York.
Shit.
They're buying up Harlem. They're buying up everything they can.
10 years. Let me tell you something.
It's already happening.
When I was there in 96, 97, last time I lived there, I had a 1,140 square foot apartment. I think it was on the 33rd floor, 32nd. I can't remember. But it was $4,100 a month, and that did not include the exercise privileges and parking. That was just the rent. So that same apartment today, I bet you is $6,000 or more.
It's probably more than that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's horrible, and they're buying up Harlem.
Yeah.
I have a friend, though, her mother, years ago, in which I'm glad she did this, she bought up all kinds of property in
Yeah.
Harlem.
Yeah,
And she's going to make a fortune when she starts selling it, if she hasn't already. And
exactly.
I know a lot of people, they bought co-ops there, and so they can't change that on them, but it is changing where eventually it will only be for the rich.
It is already, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how the average person that's making, you know, $60,000 a year, how they can live in New York
Well,
City
if you're
or
young,
here,
they call their parent.
right? Let's see. We got somebody calling in here.
Wasn't Leon supposed to?
Hello, welcome to the show.
Hey, Lee,
Yes. Who is this?
Spy Boy, man.
Spy Boy from New Orleans. Hey, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't had a chance to listen to this radio program. But,
So
I
you're just gonna bogart on in and just I'm busting in. Come on in.
Now, if someone there can answer this question for me, I'd be grateful.
Okay, what's your question?
What race is Mexican?
What race
I thought-
is Mexican?
Yeah, I thought Mexico was a country.
It is.
All right, so then how can Mexican be a race?
Well, I mean, that's what they call people from Mexico, right? Mexicans?
Hispanic.
Well, that's a general, covers more than just Mexicans. That covers Puerto Ricans and Spaniards and people who speak Spanish.
Well,
At
you know-
least that's my understanding. Correct
You know,
me
it's
if I'm
funny,
wrong.
though, most countries don't have race barriers. If you're from France, and you're born there, you're French. If you're
Right.
from Cuba, You're Cuban.
Right.
It's our country and a few others that have race barriers where they want to separate us.
So what are you confused by, Spy Boy?
Well,
Where are you?
I'm listening. I'm listening to all of the consternation about Trump calling the judge Mexican and unable to make a judgment.
Right.
In his case.
He's an
Well-
American. The judge is an American. His heritage is somebody in his bloodline, I guess, is from Mexico or Mexican.
Well,
So
part of
So-
Texas
so-
was Mexico and California and
Right.
a few other states. We took it from them.
So Trump wins again. He was accurate in his description, and everybody else had a hissy fit about it. And now they're claiming, because, listen, they're black Mexicans, they're white Mexicans, they're Mexicans in between.
right.
The Mexican is not a race. It's a nationality.
Right.
And so I don't know how this comes under the auspices of race.
Well, but he made it an issue. I mean, he said
No,
that
he didn't make it an issue.
well, he did. He said the man.
complained.
He said the man could not judge his case because he's Mexican and because he's building a wall.
And he feels he'd be biased to him
Right.
because of all the nasty stuff he said.
You know the reason why Trump is doing so well?
Who's doing well?
Yeah, he's doing well.
Who's doing well?
He said that
Trump.
the reason that
Oh,
Trump
he
is
ain't
doing
doing
so
that
well.
well, believe me.
Well, he's doing well among thinkers, people who think like he does. Yes, who he's pandering to. So he's doing well among that crowd. But is he doing well among all the people? Absolutely not.
He's got the nomination for president.
Well, that's easy.
But look who he was
Being
running
a Republican,
against.
that's easy.
So then, if that's the case, look at who he's running against. He's running against Hillary. She's a crook. And so,
How is she a crook? Something
Because Trump said so?
you read? I mean,
She's
if you're going to
she's a
read
li-
something, you have to read it all the way back because I guess that's why we consider Trump a crook, a liar, a racist.
Well, Hillary is a crook, a liar, and a racist.
What has she done? It's something you read
She
in that.
lied.
What did she lie
lied.
about? What did she lie about? Benghazi? Those people were told to leave.
Exactly.
They didn't get out. So what, should we go in when they decide to leave and get a bunch of other people killed when they were already told to get out? You got to read your facts.
You're making excuses for a liar.
I'm not making
No,
an
wait a minute.
excuse. I'm
What-
giving you reality.
What
You
it-
just-
what-
no,
what-
that's not reality. The
It is.
reality
It
is
is reality.
the reality is that there was an attack on the not the embassy, but on the people who
They
were
were
stationed there.
told to get out. They didn't want to leave.
They were attacked.
Of course they
Okay.
were attacked because they wouldn't leave when they were
and
told to.
So then why did someone get blamed for producing a video that caused the attack? Which is where the lie is.
You know, it's sad thing is
but come on.
politics is
But
terrible.
Spy Boy, in all fairness, whenever there's a crisis, whenever there's whether it's a gang thing, whether it's a shooting at a concert or hotel, or the initial reports are always, or typically, not 100% correct. After you do your due diligence and you get more credible sources and information, then yes, it sometimes changes.
Well,
So
I'm-
I think that's what we are a witness of right now in that
Me-
particular
me-
situation. Not making
I
any
would-
excuses.
I would buy that if it weren't for 96 hours from the time that it occurred until the time that they're standing in the hangar addressing the American public with coffins in the building.
Can I ask you
They
a
knew,
question, though?
they knew that that was not an attack. I mean, they knew that wasn't a protest. They knew it was an attack, and they lied. They went and lied to us about the attack. They lied to us about the video being the genesis of it. And so, and what that makes is, it makes Hillary a liar. It also makes Barack Obama a liar.
Can I ask you a question? I don't know what race you are,
He's black.
but how did you feel yesterday when there was one black guy in his rally and he made a joke of it? He made him look like he was a mascot. Did you enjoy watching that? I know I didn't. I wouldn't care if Trump was a Democrat. I wouldn't vote for him.
So how do you feel about that, Spy Boy?
I'm just curious.
Are you
Would
aware?
you
I
have
don't-
liked
I don't-
that if he singled you
I don't-
out and all over the press he said, I have a
Let him
black
answer.
man?
Are you aware of
I
that?
don't, yeah, I saw that, and usually that chalked up to a misspeaking of it. I don't know what he had in his heart about the situation.
Misspeaking.
ignorant.
It doesn't amount to a hill of beans, actually, because there are other
You didn't take
more
offense to
pressing
this,
issues.
and he says, "Look, here's my African American over here."
I didn't take it.
Well, you should.
What would
Yeah.
be? Why did he say that? What
What
was the
would be
point?
offensive? You know, what would be offensive if someone stood up in front of me and said, "Your loved one is dead because of a protest gone astray, and we're going to get that person who created that video, and we're going to hold him responsible for it."
But
the
what?
whole while knowing that it was an attack.
Spy
and-
Boy,
and the
Spy Boy,
people-
Spy Boy. Hold up, slow down.
That's
We're
offensive.
talking about the statement that Donald Trump made on stage at a rally, and he pointed out, "Here's my African American over here." Why did he say that? What was the benefit? What was the purpose? What was he trying to achieve?
But I guess he's trying to show that he's got black support.
One man. He
One
pointed
guy,
out
that's
a
it.
guy.
That's all. That's
Here's
that's
my
all he
African
needs.
American. Was that you, Spy Boy, that he was talking to? About?
That's all he
Were
needs.
you there?
No, I was going to go to a Trump rally, but there are so many people there that are against him that I'd be afraid to stand in the crowd.
Yeah. You support Trump, obviously.
I don't necessarily support Trump. I tell you what, I'm more against Hillary than I am for Trump.
But who are you
against
for?
Hillary.
Who are you for?
I'm
That's not an
I'm
option when
for-
you go into the ballot box.
Funny thing is, though, I haven't
I'm for
seen
me.
Hillary sit on a stage and say the horrible stuff this man says.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Our
You
show is,
haven't heard Hillary?
you know what,
you
Spy
haven't
Boy,
heard
I got
Hillary
to
say
let you go. I'm sitting here not watching the clock, and our show is over by 3 minutes. So I'm getting ready to get tossed out of the building. So listen, call in earlier. Call in tomorrow, and let's talk about this after the election here today in California and New Jersey. Then we can have a lot more to talk about. But I want you
Hey,
to
have a
tell
good one,
me.
guys.
All right, you have a good one too. I want to find out why it's okay for a guy who's running for the president to make a comment like, "Here's my African American over here." I don't get it. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's appropriate. And that kind of stuff just boggles my mind. Lee Michaels Show tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. right here on thepowerofvoices.com. Have a great day.